Hey guys, this is me Rachit and welcome to yet another video. Today we will be covering another problem from LeetCode about dynamic programming. In the first one, we had covered two problems on dynamic programming only from LeetCode again, and this series is basically about interview preparation, and all those solutions you can find on my GitHub repository, which is specifically dedicated for interview preparation. And so this is how it's looking. We have all the solutions over here. In the first lecture or the first video of this series, we have solved two dynamic programming problems which were like very easy to get started with. So I will definitely recommend you to solve these two problems. You can find the link to the problem when you click on that. Like the first line is having the link to the problem on LeetCode. So if you're not aware of LeetCode, it's a great website to basically get prepared for coding interviews, and that's what we'll be using throughout this interview series. If I do find some of the problems which are good on other platforms as well, like Codeforces or HackerRank, I will ensure that I inculcate those as well. But mostly this is how it's going to look. Problems from LeetCode, then we will be using VS Code to write the solutions, and GitHub again for checking all the solutions to the GitHub repository. So yeah, that's how it's looking. And for the first video, I will have an unlisted link in the video description, so you can click on that to check out the first video wherein I discussed these above two problems. And yeah, let's get started with the new problem now. Okay, so we have solved actually two easy problems on dynamic programming. Let's solve a bit more, and then maybe we can move to the other interview topics, like we have dynamic programming, linked list, greedy, arrays, binary trees, and all. So this will be a long playlist, and today again we are covering some medium dynamic programming problems, I think. Okay, so let's see the first one, counting bits. And while this is opening, maybe we can open one more, stone game. So yeah, let's solve these two problems today. So given a non-negative integer, for every numbers I in the range of this, calculate the number of ones in their binary representation and return them as an array. For every numbers I in the range, oh okay, so for 0 there is no 1. In the binary representation of 1, there is 1, then 1. Okay, for 5 we have 101, which has two ones. Then this is the number of ones in the binary representation of 4, number of ones in the binary representation of 3, of 2, of 1, and of 0. So yeah, this is how it's looking. And yeah, let's quickly move to VS Code to solve this. We can simply copy this. We can create a new file. What shall I give this a name? Counting bits. Okay, oops, counting underscore bits dot cpp. All right, let me first include the other stuff, otherwise this will give me an error. Hash include vector and hash include iostream using namespace standard. Okay, so things look good. We have this number, and for each number from 0 to num, we have to basically count the ones in its binary representation. Okay, I think it's fairly straightforward. I'm not sure why we need dynamic programming over here. We can simply have a function, I would say, in this class itself. Maybe we can have it over here, int get ones, int x, and this function is supposed to return the number of bits which are turned to 1. So while we have x, what we can do is answer plus plus, and then we can basically remove uh, one of the bits which are turned on. So we can do this, and at end we can simply return answer. And over here we can have a vector of int answer, which is initially empty. Then for int I equal to 0, I is less than equal to num I plus plus, what we can do is answer dot push back, and we can say get ones for I, and then we can simply return the answer. So yeah, this looks good to me. Let me just copy this class over here. Let's see if it's working. Okay, let me submit this. So yeah, this is working. I'm not sure why it's in the category of dynamic programming, so let's read a bit about it. It is very easy to come up with a solution with runtime of this, but can you do it in linear time? Okay, so the time complexity of R is nothing but we have this, so let this number be n, so this is running n times, and then we are calling this function n times. So the time complexity for this is nothing but order n star x, where x is the time complexity for this function. So this is nothing but we are counting the number of ones in the binary number, and that can take up to log of n again. So it's n log n, and what they are saying is space complexity should be order n, and we have to do it in linear time. Oh, I'm not sure. I think this is not a good way of saying things, because what they are recommending is to use the inbuilt pop count function, which is nothing but it returns the number of ones, but that also in worst case can take, I think, order n time, order log n time. So yeah, it should definitely not be in dynamic programming category. But yeah, the good thing is you can basically comment this out. Instead of get once, we can use underscore built-in underscore pop count, which is nothing but it returns the number of ones. Yeah, so this is implemented in C++ STL, and what it is supposed to do is for a given input, it returns, basically it counts the number of binary, it counts the number of ones or the number of bits that are turned to 1, and it returns the number of those bits which have 1. And that's what our function get underscore ones was doing. So yeah, this should also work, and I will just submit this again. That's all. We can get rid of this, and this should still work. Okay guys, so I'm okay. Let me just push this to dynamic programming. um, Actually I should not push this to dynamic programming. I should just push this to some other folder. I will just make a folder mkdir. Let's make a folder called as bitmagic, and we can move the solution to that. So we can move from dynamic programming, and this was counting bits, and we will just push that to bitmagic. That makes more sense, to be honest. And git status, git commit, oh sorry, git add bitmagic, and then we can simply commit this. What should I give the name? Inbuilt, or let's use this name, underscore built-in underscore pop count C++ inbuilt function. Alright, let me just push this as well. Okay, so yeah, this was easy problem, I would say, not even medium. Let's hope this one is dynamic programming. Oh, I'm not sure about that. It has 297 likes and 547 dislikes, guys. A lot of dislikes, to be honest. But let me just give it a glance. Objective of the game is to end with more stones. Even number of piles arranged in each row, and each pile has a positive integer. Okay, and what they're doing is they're playing some game. Each player in a turn takes the entire pile of stones from either the beginning or the end. Just continues until there are no more piles left. Okay, and we have to return um, whether the first player will win, or um, false if the second player can win, or if there is a draw. So in this case 5 3 4 5, they are saying true. Why? Because Alex starts first. He can take 5 or the last five, first 5 or the last 5, so he takes the first 5. So the array becomes 3 4 5. Then the second player kicks in and he takes a 3. So now we are left with 4 5. Then Alex takes 5. So he has 10 points, whereas the second player now takes the last 5, and now we have 3 comma 4. Okay. Okay, so basically we are taking numbers from the corners of the array, and if the first player can have the maximum number of stones, or the maximum sum in this case, we can simply return true. I'm not sure why it has so many dislikes. Anyways guys, let's implement this. This looks interesting and it's a good dynamic programming problem as well. So what we are going to do is basically start with something like really scratch, like we really don't know how to solve this, and the only options we have is either to pick it from the starting or from the ending, and the goal is to maximize the number of stones that we can get. And finally, if we were able to get more stones than the other player, we return true. So this is what we have to do, and what I am going to do first is, in the dynamic programming, I will just create a file, maxstones.cpp. okay, and hash include iostream using namespace standard int main. It's not required actually, we are simply going to paste the class function. Okay, so yeah, this much looks good. So again guys, before I proceed with this one, I just want to tell that I'm not removing the first problem that we solved because it's still relevant to coding interviews, and it's a good problem, and it's good to learn about the inbuilt C++ functions. And also I think you might not be knowing about the counting bits about this one. So like what this is doing is nothing but we are trying to be faster in implementing the get one. So what this essentially does is that if we have, let's say, some binary number called as 110 1001 or 100, so what one way of counting the number of ones in this is that we simply check this bit, then this bit, then this, then this, then this, then this, and then this. So if we have 10 bits, we will iterate each one of them. But what this function is doing is that it will only run the number of times the number of ones it has. So if it has 3 ones in its binary representation, this function will run only 3 times. And how this is functioning is that if this is your x, then what x and minus x gives us is nothing but this 1000. Okay, the smallest one, basically the leftmost one, it's giving us that. So this gives us this 100, and we subtract that from the original x, so this will make this. In the next iteration, x and minus x will give us this, and we subtract this much from x, so x becomes this, and then x and minus x will give us actually the complete number x, and once we subtract that from itself, it becomes 0 and we come out. So that's one trick I thought that you should know, and that's why I'm not removing that from the main YouTube video as well. Okay, and I have put that in the Bitmagic category. Anyways, we can start with implementing the maxstones game. How do I proceed? So I have only two choices. I can pick from beginning or from end. That's the only thing that I can do. And so I need to think on this. How shall I begin with it? I think I can do something like from the start till piles.size -1, and instead of cout we will simply return, and go is the function that will do all the heavy work. So int, oh actually we have to return bool, right? Okay, so int maxwin, let's call that. So maxwin is nothing but the maximum score by which we can win from the second player. If that's negative, it means we lose. Okay, so int go, int low, int high. Alright, and I think it's better if we move this piles to a other variable over here, let's have a vector int array, and over here what you can do is array move piles. So now the array piles is moved to ar. Now ar is available to this function also. Why it's throwing an error? Oh, we have not included vector, so let's do that quickly. Okay, so now what happened, stone game is what LeetCode will call, and what we are doing is we are passing the piles or moving that container to ar, which is declared as a private member of this class solution, so it's available to this public function as well, and this will do the heavy stuff of basically giving us the answer. And what this is doing is that if we consider the array from, if array from low to high is considered, what is the max win for the present player, I mean whoever has his turn. So for that, by what is the max score by which he can win at this moment. Okay, so initially we were at 0 and all the way to the end, and that's what I have passed to this function. And if this is max win is greater than 0, you can return true, or we can return false. Okay, another thing is that instead of returning true, we can make this 1 and 0 just to write a bit less. Okay, so for this, how shall I? So now we have two choices: either pick the low, the stone. We pick stones at low position or stones at high position. These are the two choices that we have. And if we do this, what's going to happen is that we are going to get these many stones. That's what we got. And then now we are left with low plus 1 to high, right? So this is what we are left with, and the other player actually now basically can, now it's the, basically once we pick these many stones, the array range reduces to low plus 1 to high, and now it's the chance of other player. So what we can do is we can call max win for that, and this will give us the maximum so basically this will give us the maximum score by which the other player can win if we pick array of low. So what we can do is we can subtract that from this, right? We can subtract that from this, and this is basically nothing but the current max win, right? um, Basically this should be go, and it's a recursive function. And what we can also do is the current max win is, that's one option, or the other option for us was to pick the stones at higher position, so that is that, and then go to low comma pos minus 1, and we are subtracting that. If you will see this, look at this carefully, you are subtracting this because um, this is the maximum difference by which the other player will win. So if we negative that, and this will nothing, this is nothing but the maximum win or the maximum difference by which the current player can win, and that is what we are supposed to do. Okay, of course we need to take max. With this one we have two choices, we take the max, and yeah, and we can simply return cur max win. So you might be wondering that it's a dynamic programming problem and I'm not using any arrays or writing all those things. I'm just simply writing a recursive function, and you will see in a minute that this is a fairly easy way to think. And then finally we will, once this is sorted, once we believe that this recursive function is working correctly, we will simply convert that to a dynamic programming solution. Okay, so this is, oh, this should be high. Yeah, I think this should work now. Let's quickly check. Oh, we forgot to add the base cases. So if low plus 1 is high, so if we just have two numbers, the maximum difference is nothing but the absolute values of r low minus r high. Alright, let's quickly submit this and check if this is working. Why is it throwing me an error? Oh, the spelling of r is wrong. Okay. Let's try to run our code and see if it's working. Of course, it will time out for larger values because we have not introduced dynamic programming to this, and it's giving us runtime error. Perfect. Why is that? I'm not sure about that. Okay. Mm. It should not give us runtime error at least. Everything looks fine to me. Uh, is it because of this? Let me just comment this. We can have this as R, and um, we can comment this as well, and we can pass R over here. I didn't want to do this, but I think I'm just checking if this is what the problem was. Right, let's try to run the code now. Files, oh, this is R now. Why is it taking so much time? Yeah, it's working. So the error is because of this. I'm not sure why. It should have worked, but uh, I'm not sure actually. So anyways guys, I actually I need to resolve this. It should work. So what we were having, oops. Okay, so this is what we were having initially, and this is not working. Let's see if we are doing something wrong. Yeah, so we don't want to copy, we actually wanted to move, and that's what you're trying to do. uh, oh, shall we do it like that? I'm not sure. Let's see if it works like that. Uh-huh. What's the issue? I'm not sure. Guys, it should work. I'm not sure why it's not working. And it is giving us really weird result to be honest. If this is not working, then the last thing that I really didn't want to do this guys, but yeah, that's what I have to do now. So for int x in piles answer dot push underscore back x. Oops, it's r. Finally lead code, come on. Okay guys, I'll quickly do that hack over here. I am really sorry for this. I really don't know. I'll not delete this, actually I will comment this. And for int x in piles r dot push underscore back x. I just wish if the original thing worked, and it used to work a couple of months back on lead code. I'm not sure what they did over there. So yeah, this should work now. Anyways, let's convert this to a dynamic programming solution right now. We can have a vector of pair of int comma int dp and what we will do over here is basically int n is equal to piles dot size, and then the this will be n into n, and for that what we can do is dp dot resize n comma vector int, or actually we can create over here itself dp is equal to vector of int, or let me just resize this dp dot resize n comma vector int n comma 0. So our dp has been created. Let's also have one more. Yeah, so now let's have bool unordered map pair of int comma int visited, and we need to, so basically unordered map is nothing but something of hash set in um, Java, or hash map, or it's actually a hash table, and it provides us order one lookup. That's what I'm interested in. Why is it throwing an error? Oh, why are we doing this pool? Alright, so now what we can do over here is basically if check if we have already visited low comma high. In that case we can simply return the dp low high, and if we have not visited this right now, we need to calculate the answer, and before returning the answer what we can do is we can store the answer in this array, cur max win, and we can simply return that. So, and before we do that we also say that we have visited this, and yeah, and now it's a dynamic programming solution, and that's just by adding these few modifications over here. Why is it throwing an error? I'm not sure. Um, is there some bug with VS Code? It should work, guys. Ah, something like that. Let me just run this. Okay, let's see. Oh, it's been a while. It's been a while using C++. Okay, so let's make that change over here as well first. Yeah, it's still showing us some error over here. Oh, it's a vector of vector. Oops, why? What's up with me, guys? I'm sorry for the trouble. Now this should work. Let me just copy this class. And paste it here, run code. It's giving us compilation error. Wow. On line 5. Okay, so I think we have to include explicitly on LeetCode. Guys, I really didn't want to edit this because I just wanted to go through as well the experience of this, and I think you all must be going through such issues. What else now, guys? Alright. Okay. So this is, I'm actually glad this happened. So what this is saying is that since an ordered map performs hashing under the hood, it really does not know how to perform hashing for this, because it knows hashing for int and other things, but for pair it really does not know, because pair can be of int to string, pair can be of your custom structs as well. So to tell C++ to use, you need to provide the hashing function for your pairs. So I really do not want to get into the scope of that. And right now what I'm doing is I'm making this a map. So the lookup will now not be in order 1, but it will take order log n time if n is the size of collection. So I just don't want to provide the hash function myself. Just for that, I am taking this choice of using map over of instead of an ordered map. And now if I submit this, it should like really get submitted very fast. Of course, it's a little bit slower, and but yeah, it's successful. So basically, we could have used an ordered map over here, and I will just write that in the comments over here before pushing this to GitHub repository. So use an ordered map with hash function provided to C++ for faster lookup. That's the comment, and let's make this a map. Alright, let's include a map, and we are good to go. So yeah guys, this works. And I will simply add this git status, git add dynamic programming, max tones, git commit m. This was actually an interesting dynamic programming problem. 2D DP problem, corner game. Alright, git push origin master, and we are done with this. So guys, I hope you like this problem, and oops, I moved the camera. So guys, yeah, I hope you like this problem, and actually we were only able to solve one dynamic programming problem. The other one was on Bitmagic. And let me know in comments if this was useful, and if you are interested, hit the like button and subscribe button to get notifications for more such videos. I will see you in the next one guys. Till then, bye bye.